Hi guys, welcome to codinggrammar.com. This is part 3 of our C++ basics tutorial series, and here today we are going to see how we can take user input and print the output on console using C++. So last time in part 2 we have studied about our first program hello world, and we were using cout statement to print this hello world string. We have also seen the basic fundamental type systems that we use in C++ in our last video. So I would suggest you to see that video before you see part 3 so that it will help you understand part 3 very well. So today we are going to see how we can print console output statements using cout statement in our C++ console application. So guys, before we use this cout and cin, let's understand what is required to print this or use these statements to print the console output using cout and take the user input using cin. So guys, hash include, basically we have to use this hash include iostream statement in our code, in our .cpp file. We have to use this hash include iostream statement. As you can see, we have discussed in our last video that we will require hash include iostream, and then we are using standard double colon cout to print this hello world string. So guys, basically this hash include is called a preprocessor directive. So guys, we will be discussing preprocessor directive in an advanced series, but as of now, you can understand that preprocessor directives are nothing but they instruct the compiler to process those statements before it actually compiles the code. So here I have clearly mentioned that preprocessor are the directives which give instructions to the compiler to process the information before the actual compilation starts. So guys, this hash include is called a preprocessor. So here include is a preprocessor directive, and hash is the grammar that is used to tell our compiler that it is a preprocessor directive. So whichever thing comes after hash is nothing but a preprocessor directive. So all the preprocessor directives will begin with hash. So I just now told like what is the use of this preprocessor directive. It tells the compiler to pre-process the information before the actual compilation starts. So guys, after this hash include, we have a bracket, and inside that we have a header file. So this header file is a file that we are telling compiler to pre-process before it actually compiles our code that is written in a .cpp file. So this statement is getting pre-processed. So what this statement actually is doing. So this hash include is telling our compiler that you have to process you have to include this header file before you actually compile the code. So guys, we will be discussing preprocessor directives in detail, but as of now you can understand like this hash include is telling our compiler to include this header file. Okay, so why this header file is required? So guys, just now I have told like the cout statement we will be using to print this hello world string. So this cout, how it works actually is written in this file or a standard library which is stored in some part in your computer, which is stored in the some standard directory paths. So basically what we are doing here is hash include iostream. We are telling compiler to include this iostream library before you actually compile this complete code. So what this iostream is? Iostream is a header file that defines standard input and output stream objects. So basically, the cout object that we are using is getting defined and declared in iostream standard header file. So that's why if you want to use cout or cin in our program, we need to include the standard include we need to include this iostream header file using this hash include statement. So this hash include is a preprocessor directive, and iostream is our file, or iostream is a standard library. If you write iostream.h, that will be a header file. Everything after .h after dot is a extension, and .h is a header that we use. But here it is not using .h. We are simply saying in the bracket iostream. So don't get confused. We are just seeing that how this iostream is getting used here. We will talk about iostream and header files in our upcoming videos, but as of now, for understanding this code, you can understand like cout is getting available because of this iostream, and iostream is input output stream for the objects. And how we are taking this input output stream, how we are telling compiler to use it, we are saying you use this include hash include preprocessor directive, which tells compiler to compile it, to process it before the actual compilation starts. So basically what is happening here, we are replacing some part of code in this statement that is hidden actually. We'll talk about it in much more detail in upcoming videos, but as of now, we can see like standard cout statement is provided to us. This cout object is provided to us using this iostream. So let's see how we can print our basic fundamental data types and values using this cout statement, and also how we can take the user input using the cin statement. So guys, whenever we use cout statement, we have to follow it by this double arrow towards outside. You can remember that outside it is cout, and when we want to put something inside a code, we can use, or we can take a user input using the cin double bracket. So let's jump to Visual Studio and see how we can do that. So here I have included hash include iostream. Iostream is my file or standard library. Since it is iostream, it's a standard library that is somewhere located in my standard directory in my PC, and I'm telling compiler you include that for me. And when we include this, we can use this cout statement, cout object that is present in that iostream standard library. So here, let's define some of the basic fundamental data types that we learned in last video. So I'm defining a int x is equal to 10. I'm saying double d is equal to 9.5. I'm saying char c is equal to single quotation c, and string std string s is equal to my output string. After each statement, we have to put a semicolon that tells the compiler that statement has ended. So guys, now let's print all these values. So we will simply say cout x colon semicolon std cout d std cout c std cout s. So guys, let's see what is getting printed when we do standard cout. I'll just run this program. So guys, here you can see what is printed. The first cout statement here is printing hello world, and we have hello world. Then we are printing cout x. So here 10 is printed, but there is no gap in between 9.5 and this 10 value. So this d is nothing but 9.5 and x is 10. So it is printing 109.5. So here we don't see any space here. And in C, we are printing this char C. So you can see after 9.5 we have C here, and we have finally we have our string S, that is my output string. So let's print it in some readable format. For that, I'll just stop my program, and what I will do is I will use this slash n statement. So what is this going to do is this is going to add a new line whenever it prints the value. So it is going to print the value in a new line. So let's add that. It will just make your code output readable, the cout output readable to the people. See here, this already had slash n, so it printed it in a new line. Let's see what happens. So guys, here you can see when we printed, when we added the slash n, the x value is printed here, d value is printed 9.5, the char value c is c, and the s is our string, my output string. So here the interesting part, guys, what we can do is we can make it more readable, and we can say cout. Here we will add our string, my integer value is similarly. Here we will add my double value is. Similarly, for char we can add my character value is, and for string we can add my string s has, my string s is we can add int x double whatever value we have given d and character c. So now that will be more readable. Let's run this. So here we can see in the output we have printed our first program output, that is standard C out. Then we have printed our integer value. So my integer x value is 10, my double D value is 9.5, my character C value is C, and my string is my output string. So whatever value we have assigned here, so here we are assigning this integer value to variable named x. This is also this also can be written as defining and initializing the value of integer x. So here we are defining x as a variable that will hold the value of int, and that int value that we have assigned, whenever it is equal to, we are assigning it to a value of 10. This complete code, I will make it available for you guys in my website codingrammar.com, and the link I will be providing it you in the description box. Make sure you guys copy this code from that link and use in your Visual Studio to see the similar output. So guys, let's suppose this values that we are providing it here, that we want to take it from the user and not and we don't want to hard code in our code. So how we will be going to take it? So here what we will do is, in that case we have to use a standard input statement cin, and before we use the statement we have to define this value. We have to declare this value. So what I will do is, we will say, okay, we will keep this as it is, and here I'll say integer int y int my id is int my id, and here in the standard cin statement we will say my id, and here for user to so let's see what is the uh, okay, so we will print this my id as well. So here in the output statement we will say standard c out my id value is my id. We will print it in a new line, so here we can say slash n. If you write it along with the value as so, it is fine, but for readability we can keep it like this, slash n, and here it should be small case. So let's see guys what it prints. So here you can see it has printed the value till standard cout hello world, and now it is waiting for the user input at standard in cin. Since it is expecting user to give some input, it has stopped here. So here it means this program, it has not executed all these lines. It means it is waiting here at this line number 12 for user to give some input. So let's say we want to give, since it's an int value, we have to give an int. So we will give, suppose, say 9. So now after giving 9, when you say enter, you can see here it has printed first whatever the value we were printing for integer x, that is all same, 9, 9.5, and in the last statement here we have added my id value is my id, and here you can see it is printing 9, that is the value that we just entered. So using cin we can also take various inputs like string, double, char, whatever we want, and then we can print those statements using cout. So for example, let's see how we can take string input and print string, and also how we can make this more readable by giving a message to a user saying please enter a string or please enter a int, so that user is aware that he wants to enter a string or he wants to enter a int. So let's say I say here standard string my name, and here after this part I want user to know that he wants to enter my ID and my name, so I'll give him a message saying standard cout please enter uh, please enter your ID, and in the new line I want him, and after this I'm waiting here to to I'm waiting a user to input his ID, and if once I puts the ID and presses enter, I want him to enter his name, so I'll again say standard cout please enter your name, and again I'll be giving new line so that the name he will print it in a new line, and I'll ask him to enter it, so standard cin. When you want to enter, you can give inside arrows, and here you can tell string should be my name. We're missing one colon here. So guys, what we expect our program to do is we will say hello world, and you will give my ID and my name as you will define here an integer value, and we are not declaring it, we are just defining it. So the value we are expecting our input values from the user here, and we are prompting a message saying please enter your ID, and once this message is there, user is ready to enter his ID, and we are waiting for taking his input in this C using the C in statement, and the input whatever value he will put, that will go inside my ID that we have defined here, and once he enters, that will get assigned to my ID. And after this, we are immediately printing, please enter your name. So this message, it is printed using cout, so it will prompt user to enter his name, and then we are expecting him to enter a string value. That value will be storing in my name. And now, after this, we can print this value as well, the string value. So we will print cout, you have entered your name as, and here we will print out my name slash n. So guys, let's run this program and see what is the output that we will get. See guys, the output that we are getting is, first it is printing hello world, that is expected, and then we are saying please enter your ID. So now this statement, please enter your ID, we are telling user to input his ID, so we will input say 56, and then we have to press enter. So now this line of code is executed saying please enter your name, and now we are prompting user by this message to enter his name, and we are waiting for user to enter his name, and that name that we will be storing it in my name, and my name is a string type. So we will enter, suppose say codinggrammar.com. So codinggrammar.com. So here we can see it has done the same stuff that we were expecting it to do. It was waiting for us to enter the value of ID, and now once we enter that ID and press enter, this ID value got assigned to this my ID, and we have entered 56. So here the value 56 is printed in the statement, and here you have entered your name as my name, and this my name value, we ask user to enter his name, and he has entered codinggrammar.com. So this value is also printed using this cout statement. So hope you guys like this video. The code that is used here, this complete code I will make available for you guys on my blog, and the link for this blog I'll keep it in the description box. So make sure you guys copy paste this code and play around with this code. Hope you guys like this video, and you understood what is cout and C in statements in C++. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to our channel so that whenever I upload a next video of this C++ basics tutorial series, you guys get notified. Thank you. Have a nice day.